I want to go to the other breaking news, and then we'll get back to football camp. So there has been an ongoing investigation into University of Iowa and Iowa State University athletes for gambling on college sports. And in the last 48 to 72 hours, the charges have begun to come out on a number of those things. And the Cedar Rapids Gazette and the Des Moines Register have been on top of this stuff. What I'm reading to you is from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. And we will have something shortly on our site. But, Iowa's got, the papers over there have access to the records, and they kind of know what they're looking for when it hits the legal portal at 9 a.m. But former University of Iowa basketball player Ahron Ulis faces a tampering with records charge during the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigations probe into sports gambling at Iowa and Iowa State. Ulis, according to a criminal complaint filed by the Johnson County Attorney's Office Tuesday, allegedly used his older brother's information, that is Tyler Ulis, the former player at Kentucky, to disguise approximately 1,850 sports wagers. Over 740 of the 1,850 bets were placed before Ulis turned 21. The legal betting age in Iowa, according to the court document, the alleged wagers totaled over 34,800. At least one of the wagers was on an Iowa sporting event, and over 430 were on NCAA-sanctioned football and basketball games. This is why he is not playing in Spain. This is why he's not available there. I think the chances of him ever playing at Nebraska seem very unlikely. And these are the kinds of things that when I was a kid, this was like a massive scandal. And you have now all of these athletes caught up in this. Nobody's saying point shaving at this point. But when you're betting on that many games and you're putting that much money down, my goodness, it does change the way that you look at the world. This is a big deal, obviously, for Nebraska, because he's very unlikely to play at Nebraska if these charges prove true. But simultaneously, this is engulfing the Iowa and Iowa State athletic departments.
Yes, Emma, it is a mess, and what I'm really curious about. I mean, everybody says, "Well, this is everywhere. This happens on every campus," and I'm sure it does. But it sure seems to be come back to the state of Iowa over and over and over. So, what is going on over there? Where there is so many cases of this? I don't understand that. I guess what I'm really curious about is what is the NCAA's discipline going to be for this? Are you going to get banned for life from is your eligibility over with, or who and how many? I think it's really interesting because there are athletic programs that are sponsored by the casinos. I mean, it's just such a gray area. It overlaps. It's very hypocritical in a lot of ways. I don't know. I just think college sports has become so corporate, and it's just hard to kind of wrap your arms around the okay, what's moral and what's not. Where are the boundaries? You know what I mean? I feel like it's just hard to. I'm more anxious to see the penalties for this, or the and because what are you going to do? I mean, I'm really, and I'm not surprised that this has happened at Nebraska, but it's a former Iowa, happened over there, right? So I don't know. It's something's going on over there, and you can be sure it's probably happening in other places too. It just hasn't come out.
Well, and we heard from Kirk Ferentz last week at Media Days too. He talked about it. A couple of his players, at least, are caught up in the same investigation. And he made some of the points that you did, Tom, about this idea that hopefully, he said, the punishment will be proportional to what the reality of the world is today. And the reality of the world is you can turn on College Game Day on ESPN on Saturday, and you'll see betting lines on these games. Like, it's, as to your point, become very mainstream These kids are inundated with it. You watch an NFL game on a Sunday, and you've got multiple gambling, advertisements and things that are just hitting you all the time. So certainly education probably needs to be a little bit more in the forefront with some of these things. But I agree. And to your point, Sam, like if this had come out 20 years ago, this is a major deal. And it almost just kind of feels like, well, this is the way that college sports is going. This is the way the world's going. You can gamble on sports almost anywhere in the country and a lot of places in the country right now. As to what you said too, Tom, it'll be fascinating to see what the punishment is for something like this.
So one of the things that I'm really curious to figure out is the complaint says the wagers, this is again from the Cedar Rapids Gazette, were routinely and consistently placed from Ulis's phone at locations that included his university residence and areas of the university not routinely open to the public. Obviously, he was using an app. The question that I have is, was he betting on athletic contests? In other words, putting money on teams or putting money on, the over-under of a game? Or, and this is not really differentiated in the report, was he using DraftKings? And was he, or what's the other one? I can't even remember the other one. And was he basically compiling like a fantasy lineup, which you can do in college football and college basketball? You can do this, where you play fantasy that night and you're placing money on guys to score points. That would be interesting to me to discern. I'm just curious to know if that's what's going on here. Like if that's what we're talking about, or if this guy literally put 1,840 bets on games.
Well, there was a
and that's
story
something
already. The backup kicker at Iowa was betting the over/under on a Iowa State-Iowa game. So,
not good.
Of course, he bet the under. It said, but it's still. I mean, he wasn't playing. There's a guy who could impact, or maybe had knowledge of the over/under stuff. Yeah, that's serious stuff. So
that's P. Rose stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah. So it's I'm anxious to see what they do, because the NCAA has not been in the mood to do a lot lately, and but now they've got a new a new guy in charge, and we'll see what Charlie Baker wants to do. But it's crazy. But again, when you got these athletic departments taking money from the casinos, okay, how can they stand there and wag their finger at the players? They're taking money from them, so it's it's nuts.
Yeah, it's a thorny issue. We'll see how it all turns out. For Nebraska, it's a bad development. I mean, it goes without saying. Very late in the process to add a player at this point from any experience perspective. I didn't think that Ahron Ulis was going to be a big time star on the team, but I do think he knew the Big Ten inside and out because he played in it for 3 years and would have been an asset, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Would have taken 15, 20 minutes a game. And that's a player they're not going to have. If they do, I don't know I have no idea under what circumstances they would have him.
Yeah.
I don't think you can pay restitution and get out of it, or there may not even be restitution to pay. I mean, you may have made a lot of money. You just never know. And so the thing's kind of messy, and what are you going to do? But that's where Nebraska basketball is. They're playing in Spain again today. There's no press conference today. Fred Hoiberg announced a couple of days ago, well, hey, just so you know, he's not playing. He's dealing with a situation, and Fred wouldn't say much more, but now we know what it is. And I think Nebraska will adequately prepare to move on. I mean, there's only so much they can do.